You're standing in your kitchen at 2 a.m. You came down for water. The house is dark. You're half asleep, shuffling past the back door, and then you see it. A shape in the window. A face. Someone is standing in your backyard, looking at you. And your body does nothing. Your legs don't run, your arms don't swing, your mouth doesn't scream. You just stand there, frozen solid, like someone hit pause on your entire nervous system. Your brain is screaming, move, 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 and your legs are saying, absolutely not. We live here now. 3 seconds pass, maybe 5. Then the shape moves, and you realize it's your own reflection in the glass, you idiot. It's fine. Go back to bed. But here's the thing. For those few seconds, you weren't in control of your body. Something older than you, something that doesn't speak English or understand that reflections exist, took over. And it decided that the correct response to danger was to become a statue. Which doesn't make any sense, right? If you see a threat, you should run. That's the whole point of legs. That's why we have the phrase fight or flight, because those are the two options that actually help you survive. Fighting might work, running definitely works. But freezing? Standing perfectly still while a predator walks toward you? That sounds like a great way to get eaten. And yet your body chose it anyway, automatically, without asking. So why does fear make us freeze instead of run? By the end of this, you're going to understand the exact ancient logic your nervous system is still running, and why that logic made perfect sense 200,000 years ago, even if it makes you feel like a malfunctioning robot today.
Let's just acknowledge how strange this is. You have a body that evolved over millions of years for one purpose. Don't die before you reproduce. That's it. That's the whole game. Every system, every reflex, every weird thing your body does without asking, it all exists because at some point it helped your ancestors survive long enough to have kids. And when you look at it that way, freezing in fear seems like a catastrophic design flaw, like someone in the evolution department made a typo and nobody caught it. Because think about what actually happens when you freeze. Your heart rate spikes, adrenaline floods your system, your muscles tense up and prepare for explosive movement. Your body is doing all the prep work for running away. Dilated pupils to see better, blood rushing to your legs, digestion shutting down because who cares about lunch when you're about to become lunch? And then at the last second, your brain says, actually, let's just stand here and see what happens. It's like revving a car engine to 7,000 RPM and then refusing to put it in gear. Every other response makes sense. Fighting makes sense if you might win. Running makes sense if you're faster than the threat. Even fainting makes a weird kind of sense. Some predators lose interest in prey that's...
Let's say you're a hunter. Not a modern hunter with a rifle and a truck and a thermos of coffee. You're a Homo sapiens in East Africa, roughly 150,000 years ago. You're barefoot, you're carrying a sharpened stick, and you're walking through tall grass looking for something to eat. You've done this walk 100 times. You know this landscape. The grass comes up to your chest, which is annoying but not unusual. The sun is high and hot. Your mind is wandering, thinking about the camp, about the dried meat you have left, about whether that one guy is going to shut up about his spear-throwing technique tonight. And then the grass moves. Not wind movement, something inside it movement. 20 feet ahead of you, a patch of golden brown grass shifts in a way that grass doesn't shift on its own. Your body freezes. Not because you decided to freeze. You didn't think, I should stop moving now. Your body just did it, instantly, before the conscious part of your brain even finished processing what it saw. And here's the thing. That freeze might have just saved your life. Because here's what's hiding in that grass. A big cat. Probably something like a leopard, or one of the larger predatory cats that roamed Africa during the Pleistocene. It's watching you. It saw you before you saw it, and it's waiting for you to make a mistake. See, predators like that don't hunt the way you might think. They're not just running around attacking everything that moves. Chasing prey is expensive. It burns calories, it risks injury, and it often fails. A cat that chases every animal it sees will exhaust itself before it catches.
So instead, they wait, they hide, they watch, and they're looking for one specific signal: movement. Movement means alive. Movement means prey. Movement means chase this thing it's trying to escape. The hunt is on. But stillness? Stillness is confusing.
When you freeze, you disappear from the predator's targeting system. Not literally, it can still see you, but your sudden stillness breaks the chase trigger. The predator's brain is wired to track motion, to predict trajectory, to launch an attack when something runs. And when you don't run, that whole sequence stutters. The cat is still looking at you, but it's not sure what you are anymore. Is that a human? Is it a tree stump? Is it a threat? Is it already dead? Those 2 or 3 seconds of confusion might be all you need. Time to assess the situation. Time for the cat to lose interest. Time for your hunting partner to notice and throw a rock. Time for a better option to appear. This is the freeze response in its original context. It's not a bug, it's a calculated pause. Your body is saying, we don't have enough information yet, and moving right now might trigger the attack. Modern neuroscience actually backs this up. When you freeze in fear, your brain isn't shutting down, it's working harder. Your amygdala, the part of your brain that processes threats, goes into overdrive. Your sensory systems sharpen. You're taking in more information per second than you normally would, scanning for details that might tell you what to do next.
The freeze is a decision-making pause, hardwired into your nervous system, because your ancestors who had it lived longer than the ones who didn't. Now let's get back to that grass. You're still frozen. The cat is still there. Your brain is running calculations at a speed you're not consciously aware of. How far is the cat? How tall is the grass? Where's the nearest tree? Which direction is camp? What are your options? And then, because you're standing still, the cat does something crucial. It shifts its weight. It lowers its head slightly. It's resetting, recalculating its own approach. And in that moment, you bolt. Not toward the cat, not straight backward. You angle left, toward a cluster of acacia trees you noticed earlier without consciously noting them. Your legs move before you finish thinking about it. The freeze is over. Now you're in flight mode. The cat starts to chase, but it's a half second behind, and that half second matters. You make the tree, you climb. The cat paces below, annoyed, and eventually walks away to find something stupider. You're alive because you froze.
So the freeze response made sense on the savanna. Great. Problem solved, right? Not quite, because here's where it gets more complicated. See, the freeze response isn't one thing. It's actually at least 3 different things, and they operate under different circumstances, controlled by different parts of your nervous system. What we just described, that alert, attentive, scanning for information freeze, is called attentive immobility. Your heart rate is elevated, your muscles are primed, you're ready to explode into action the moment you decide which direction to explode. It's a pause, not a shutdown. But there's another kind of freeze, and this one is darker. It's called tonic immobility, and it looks completely different from the outside and feels completely different from the inside. Let's jump forward about 14,000 years. You're a different person now, still human, still Homo sapiens, but you're living in what's now southern France, maybe 12,000 years ago.
Your body tries to run, but he's faster. He grabs you. You try to fight, but he's stronger. And somewhere in that struggle, your brain makes a terrible calculation. Fighting isn't working. Running isn't working. And this threat isn't going away. And something shifts. Your muscles go slack. Your vision narrows. You stop struggling, not because you chose to, but because your body made the choice for you. You're still conscious, still aware, but you're watching it happen from somewhere far away, like you're floating above your own body. This is tonic immobility. It's the same system that makes a mouse go limp when a cat catches it. It's the same system that makes a deer collapse when a predator's jaws close around it. And it's the same system that takes over in humans when the brain decides that fighting and fleeing have both failed. For a long time, researchers didn't understand this response in humans. It seemed like a malfunction. Why would the body just give up? But the evolutionary logic, dark as it is, actually makes sense. If you're caught by a predator and you're still struggling, you're reminding that predator that you're alive and therefore delicious. But if you go limp, some predators lose interest. They think you're already dead or diseased or not worth the effort. In animal studies, mice that exhibit tonic immobility are actually more likely to escape than mice that keep struggling, because sometimes the predator gets distracted, loosens its grip, and the mouse makes a break for it.
There's also a theory that tonic immobility serves a protective function for the mind. When physical escape is impossible, the brain disconnects you from the full horror of what's happening. The dissociation, that floating above yourself feeling, might be a mercy, a way to survive psychologically when you can't survive physically. This is heavy stuff, I know. And here's why it matters. Tonic immobility shows up in modern humans during assaults, accidents, and other overwhelming traumas. Survivors often describe the same thing. They wanted to fight, they wanted to run, but their body just wouldn't. They went limp. They disconnected. And afterward, they blame themselves for not doing more. But it's not a choice. It's a physiological response, operating below the level of conscious control. Your body made a calculation based on millions of years of evolved threat response, and it picked the option that historically was most likely to result in survival. Knowing this doesn't make trauma easier, but it might make the self-blame a little lighter.
Let's step back out of that for a moment. Breathe. Because there's a third kind of freeze we need to talk about, and this one is going to explain why you forgot your speech in front of the school assembly. This is called social freeze, and it's what happens when your threat detection system gets triggered by something that isn't actually going to eat you, but your ancient brain can't tell the difference. Let's put you in middle school. You're 12. You're standing in front of the class for an oral report. You've got your index cards. You know this material. You practiced in your bedroom mirror like 100 times. And then you look up and see 30 faces staring at you. Your heart rate spikes, your palms sweat, your mouth goes dry, and when you try to speak, your mind goes completely blank. You know the words are in there somewhere, but you can't access them. You're frozen. Why?
Because your amygdala, your brain's threat detection center, doesn't understand the difference between a group of predators evaluating you and a group of 7th graders waiting to judge your book report. For most of human history, being evaluated by a group was actually dangerous. If the group decided you were weak or didn't belong, they might exile you, and exile meant death. You couldn't survive alone on the savanna. Social rejection was a death sentence. So your brain evolved to treat social evaluation as a legitimate threat. The same freeze response that helped you survive a predator now gets triggered when you have to give a presentation at work, or ask someone on a date, or post a video online and wait for comments. The threat isn't real anymore. Nobody's going to exile you from the tribe for a mediocre PowerPoint, but your nervous system doesn't know that. It's running the same ancient software, treating a conference room full of middle managers like a pack of wolves. This is why public speaking is so terrifying for so many people. It's not a rational fear. It's a mismatch between ancient hardware and modern circumstances. Your body thinks.
So here's where all of this lands in your actual life. You've frozen more times than you realize. That moment when someone cut you off in traffic and you just sat there, hands on the wheel, not honking, not reacting, while your brain processed what just happened. Freeze. That time when someone said something cruel to you at a party and you couldn't think of a single comeback until 3 hours later in the shower. Freeze. That moment when you saw your ex unexpectedly at the grocery store and you stood there like a mannequin instead of walking away like a normal human being. Freeze, freeze, freeze. Every time you've thought, why didn't I do something? That was probably your freeze response. Not cowardice, not weakness, just ancient threat detection software doing exactly what it evolved to do. Pause, assess, wait for more information. The problem is that the situations that trigger it now are almost never situations where freezing helps. When a car cuts you off, you don't need to assess whether it's a predator. You need to honk or brake or change lanes. When someone insults you, you don't need to scan for escape routes. You need to respond. When you see your ex at the grocery store, you don't need to play dead. You need to act like a person who has moved on with their life.
But your body doesn't know any of that. It's still running software designed for the savanna in a world full of commuter traffic and awkward social encounters. So what do you do about it? The honest answer is not much. You can't override a reflex through willpower. That's what makes it a reflex. You can't decide to stop freezing any more than you can decide to stop blinking. But you can understand it, and understanding it changes things. Because when you know why you froze, you stop blaming yourself for freezing. You stop replaying the moment over and over, thinking, I should have said something, I should have done something, why didn't I react? You didn't react because your body was running an ancient program. It was protecting you in a way that used to work, even if it doesn't work now. And the few seconds it took for your conscious mind to come back online weren't a failure. They were your nervous system doing exactly what it was built to do. You're not broken. You're running very old software in a very new world.
Here's the part almost nobody knows. Researchers have actually measured how long the freeze response lasts in humans under real threat conditions, and the average? About 2 seconds. That's it.
2 seconds of total immobility before your brain hands control back to your conscious mind and says, okay, your turn, pick something. 2 seconds doesn't sound like much, but 2 seconds is long enough to miss an opportunity, long enough to lose a moment, long enough to feel like you failed yourself when you didn't. Next time it happens, and it will, give yourself those 2 seconds. Don't fight them. Don't hate yourself for them. Just let them pass. Then move. Your ancestors survived because they knew when to freeze. You'll survive because you know when to start moving.